Welcome back to The Curious Yapper. I'm Madison, your host and favorite yapper. We're on episode 36, which seems wild. I guess I could have imagined 36, but it seems like a lot of weeks. So anywho's, good to see you guys back, and I'll give you a recap of the week and maybe some observations. Last Monday, I was late, so I'm also late this week, and I already talked to you about my last Monday, and so we'll start with last Tuesday. After work, chatted with my mom after work and got to catch up and hear about her different adventures and what's keeping her busy. She was decorating her tree, so that's pretty cool. She's in a new home and she's making it cozy for the holidays. And then the next day, Wednesday, I don't remember anything wild happening at work, which is great. And then after that, it was therapy, and I was getting ready for my appointment, and I had this silly thought, wow, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And then in the time before work to my appointment, I was watching some Housewives and realized, oh, they were talking about religion. I was like, oh, well, that could be an avenue. And I was like, oh yeah, this thing at work. And so anyways, ended up totally filling in all of the time for the therapy appointment. So, hey, we're making progress. Still things to work on. So that was therapy. And then Wednesday was great because we were packing and I was going to be off from work for 3 days. So I think that's why it was great. It was a good day. You just feel the lightness of not having to go in, and it's so important. That's what my therapist has always told me, that when you're feeling, it's too late when you're feeling burnt out. You need to have your time away planned in advance so you know and can look forward to some time away. So I came to the realization last week that I would not be working a full week for the rest of the month of December, and that just kept me motivated. That was really nice to realize. And so anyways, I, after therapy, was packing because we were going away, and so that takes us to Thursday. It was an early travel morning to get to the airport, and we made it through security. We had parked our car, made it through security, all the things, and we flew out on United this time. So we were in a different section of the airport than we'd ever been in before, and I don't think United is how we're gonna go in the future. Anyways, so we were headed to Denver because we were on our way to go to Evan's sister's graduation. That was a big deal. But going back to that morning, it was early morning, so we needed some breakfast, and we were going through the terminal trying to figure out what we wanted to get. Not as many options as we thought were going to be available, but then there was Tillamook, and I'm always down for Tillamook, but the price of the sandwich had Evan reconsidering. Anyways, we ended up going and getting a breakfast bagel from Tillamook, and we have been on the hunt for a certain ornament since May of 2024 when we visited Oregon for the first time. And we were just in line, and I picked up an ornament. I was like, oh man, that would be so cool, because we've been looking for a cheese ornament from Tillamook, a glass cheese ornament from Tillamook. And then put it down because I thought it was butter, and I was like, dang it, that would have been so cool. So we're checking out, and then Evan went back and looked at the ornament in closer detail, and he was like, Madison, this is the cheese ornament. I said, no way. So we have been looking. I have been on eBay. I've been just looking on random websites to try to find a glass Tillamook cheese ornament, a cheese brick ornament, because when we visited in May, we thought that would be so cool, but we didn't actually buy it. We weren't sure if that was going to be our ornament for 2024. And then every time we tried to go back and find it at the real factory, they don't have it anymore, and they've moved away from glass, and now they just do fabric things. And so we could not believe it. So we found the ornament we'd been searching for at the airport. And so here she is. She is a brick, a glass brick of cheddar, a block of cheddar. So we've been looking for that, like I said, since May 2024. And that was really fun. And we just laughed at ourselves because we had to get it it was going to go travel from Oregon to Colorado to Kansas back so that we could have it at home. So fun, such a surprise, and that was really exciting. So then we're eating our breakfast and we get a text that our flight's been delayed an hour because there's really heavy winds in Colorado, so they were limiting how many flights could land. So that was our first part of United, and they can't control that though. Anyways, we made it on the flight, and we were in one of the last groups to board because we don't have any kind of preference for United flights. And they're starting to say, hey, baggage space, overhead bin space is very limited. You're gonna have to check your carry-ons. So I was like, oh man. And they always try to entice you to check your bag before you like actually get on the plane so you can avoid any of that stuff. So we're towards the end of the line and trying to get on the plane. Our group is called, and I hear the attendants on the intercom system say, as soon as you find a space, an overhead bin space, you should put your bag in it. So I was stuck in first class, and there were some open spots, and I was like, here I go. So I just started lifting my bag and putting it in there. There was a thought in my mind that I was going to turn around and ask a flight attendant, and I said, you know what? They are going to tell me not to do something if I'm not allowed to do it. Like, I will learn I'm not allowed to do it if I'm not allowed to. And so Evan was a couple people behind me because people were trying to push to get, you know, on in line so they could get their bag spot. I was doing the same, but Evan was like, this is not my battle. So Evan said he could see me a couple people back, and he saw me put it in first class. And then a lady, right as I was doing that, asked an attendant if they could do that. And the attendant's like, yeah. But Evan said that it was funny to witness the more healed Madison, because it's like the new me of just let's go for it, and I'm not gonna be scared or not do something. So that was funny. Got our spots, found my bag spot, which was great, and then the flight was fine. We land, and they told us that most people going from Oregon to Denver have a connecting flight somewhere else in the States, which is crazy, because when we moved to the West Coast, you cannot get as many direct flights as we could when we were back in Texas. So that is a thing. And so the leg of the flight to Colorado was our destination, but a lot of people's connections, and we were delayed that hour. So they got on the intercom and said that if you didn't have if this was your final destination, some people were trying to make a connection in 10 minutes to get across the airport. And so we just got out of people's way, and then it was delayed to actually let people off the plane. It was just wild, and people were stressed to try to make it. Me and Evan were just by ourselves, just waiting for our turn. And anyways, got off the flight, got our rental car, and then headed to Kansas. And there is nothing pretty from Denver, Colorado to Kansas. It was 4.5 hours of nothingness. Evan and I switched off. I got to read some book, and then we got to listen to some podcasts when I was driving, and we made it. We went to Freddy's for dinner. Delicious. I do miss a good Freddy's fast food burger and their fry sauce. And I did get a peanut butter cup and banana concrete with my meal. It was delicious. And then we checked into our hotel. We saw Evan's family, saw his aunt that I hadn't seen, I think, since 2022. So that is maybe 2021. 3 to 4 years not having seen this aunt. So it's really fun to see everybody, get some hugs. And then they decided that we're gonna go get ice cream. So I was like, all right, ice cream part 2. So I got another banana thing. We went to Cold Stone, but it was just really fun to catch up with his sister and his family and see everybody. So then we got back to the hotel and we were sleeping. It was time for that. Hotels are always interesting. My sister thinks that hotels are like a higher level than Airbnbs. I much prefer an Airbnb. There's just something, I don't know. It was a decent hotel. We were at a Hilton Garden Inn, so we didn't not pay, like, it was a hefty price, but I like Airbnbs, and it was interesting. The shower was set up funky and just all kinds of things. The soft water, bleh. I don't know about you guys, but if you ever shower with soft water and it just feels like you still have soap on you and you're like, oh, what is this? So anyways, it's always interesting. So we went to sleep that night. Then the next day was graduation, the big event, the reason why we traveled. And so we got to the Coliseum for her university, saved some seats, got to hear her name. We screamed for her. It was a big deal. And graduations kind of always make me emotional, and they talked about some people being veterans and coming back for a degree, or they were first generation college students, and then they just talked about all of the adversity and challenges that many of the graduates triumphed over. And I just have a heart for anyone trying to juggle life and try to juggle their future, and it was good to root her on. So we did that, and then it was cold outside. I think it had made it to the 20s, and so we're trying to find everybody after the graduation. Found everybody, got to do some pictures, got to do some hugs, and then we went for breakfast, and we waited a bit. It's a small town, and so that's expected, and so more time to chat. And then after that, we left and headed back to Colorado. Again, a very boring drive. Nothing pretty. Not until you're like right in Denver does it start to show mountains and you're like, oh yay, this is why we're here. So we got back to Denver and we got to see one of our friends, and so that was just a blast. And we got dinner that night, got a delicious burger, and I was telling Evan that we found a like small burger spot here that we do like, but food is what I miss the most for sure. And when we went to this burger spot, they had like wild different options. I had a burger that had mac and cheese and jalapeno Cheetos, and just that was all on the burger. Delicious. And a poblano pepper. So I just really enjoyed that, and the company was the best. Got to catch up with our friend, and then we got back home, got to get some dog snuggles, dog pets, and then me and my friend watched some Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and then I was ready for bed. I am a morning person, not a night owl, and they are very much a night owl, so that was funny, but I was like, good night. And then the next morning, Evan and I were up early and we went on a hike, and this is the same friend when we moved across the country. When we did our stop in Colorado, we got to stay with them again at that time, and we went on a hike that we did not mean to go on, and it was very challenging, very hard. And anyways, I think we scarred our friend. So we were up early, went on the hike, and it was so windy. It was nuts. We were like getting blown by the wind, and the dirt was getting in our faces and stuff like that. So it was supposed to be a 7-mile hike, and then about 2 miles in, Evan was like, okay, well, do we want to keep going? We've seen the views that we're gonna see. It's just gonna be more of this. And I said, if it wasn't windy, I would keep going, but I would like to turn around. So we did. So we did half of the hike and turned around, and still good to get out and see the stuff and move our body. And after that, we picked up breakfast bagels to go back to my friend's house. And then we went to the Chris Kindle market, and that was cool. I got sipping chocolate and they got hot chocolate. We aren't really sure that they were different. I know they're supposed to be, but yeah, mine was more expensive. I think that's the only difference. And so we did that, and then we went to Chuy's for dinner. Chuy's is Tex-Mex. I got queso, I got my jalapeno ranch, I got my big old steak burrito smothered in queso. It was so good. And I haven't had Chuy's since February, because when we go back to Texas, the stops are usually Torchy's or Velvet Taco, but it hasn't been Chuy's. And so when we were in Denver, we knew that there was a Chuy's, and so we went for Chuy's, and it was just, I ate my weight in chips and queso, and it was just delightful. And then after that, we spontaneously went to a community orchestra concert that my friend he's on the board, And so that was surprising, and that community group brought in an artist that was painting the experience while we were watching the performance. And so that was cool, and they auctioned that off, and just a really cool random experience. I was a little snob and a little judgy of some of the quality of musicians, and that was wild because I haven't seen live music in a while, and I haven't been opinionated on music in a while either. And so we were all just laughing after the concert, talking together about things that would positively benefit the group if they changed it. And anywho's, so that was that night. And then we slept. And I forgot to say, on one of our drives, I finished my Christmas book. It was The Christmas Fix by Lucy Score. I enjoy her writing, and this was just a little lighthearted Christmas story, kind of Hallmarky. You have a really bold woman character and a guy that's not sure about her and is kind of stuffy, and then, you know, love. So that was a fun book. Okay, so then yesterday was Sunday. It was our travel day. We woke up, got packed. Oh my gosh, I forgot to say, at the Chris Kindle Market, when we got there was Kraft mac and cheese people on the sidewalk handing out boxes of mac and cheese. So they're giving it two and two. And so I got two, and my friend got two. And then when we were sitting down, someone looked at the mac and cheese, and they're like, "Where'd you get that?" And so my friend gave one away. But I traveled with 3 boxes of mac and cheese home, which is crazy. So on yesterday though, we packed, we dropped off the rental car, we went to the airport. Airport moved pretty fast, and my mac and cheese did not get stopped. It is powdered substance, so I wasn't sure, but it was okay. We went through airport security. I got like a burrito. My friend said to go to Snooze, but then we were in the wrong terminal. We didn't go. We should have, because I got like a bleh kind of burrito. And then we boarded. Again, they're saying, "Do you want to ticket your bag or check your bag? Because there's not going to be enough room." I'm like, "Not this again." And so that time I didn't put my bag in first class. I waited until I was further into the normal economy class. And while I was trying to put my bag away, it's a whole fiasco. My handle wasn't going down. I was like, not again. Because when I traveled back in June, my handle broke and it got stuck. And I was like, I am not going to have to unpack my whole freaking bag on this plane, am I? So I step into an empty row, try to get the handle down. I get the handle down, and now I'm just like frazzled. And so now I'm just trying to shove it into the overhead bin. And in doing so, I had no idea, but I was like ramming my backpack into some guy. Oh my gosh. And so I got my bag in there. I realized I was ramming into him. And so I turned around and said, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "Oh, it's okay." And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I found my seat. I'm on the aisle. And then we're waiting for a couple people to make the flight. And then all of a sudden, I have the row to myself. It was glorious. I said, "Evan, you should come over here." He's like, "I'm not going to make things complicated." So he spent the whole flight sandwiched in the middle of 2 strangers. I could not believe. And I had an entire row by myself. My bag was under a different seat, so I had full leg room. I was reading a book. I had the window open. I could see stuff. So I was just living my best life over there. And then we made it home, and both Evan and I had the conscious thought to share together that we originally thought we were moving to Colorado, and we're going to be really happy. We're excited about that. And then we just moved to Pacific Northwest because of my job, and life was just different. We didn't know what was happening. And both of us collectively realized we are so glad to live where we are, and we are glad to have a bunch of trees and green everywhere. Denver's in the middle of a desert, and it has its own beauty, and you have mountains. We just realized that we prefer where we are. And so that's a really cool realization that we didn't know. And I thought we were always going to have this inkling to move to Colorado, and maybe, who knows, maybe someday we do, and that's what tickles our fancy, but we never ever knew what was in store, and just to be happy and content where you are is a wonderful feeling. And it was so nice to be home, and we got to see all the trees right when we arrived, and we were in our car and we got home, and just really nice. We love where we live. And then we unloaded clothes, started some laundry, went on a walk, and then we watched the Necessary Conversation pod, and then we watched the new Landman, got some Taco Bell for dinner, and that was our day. It was busy. And today I'm off. I took today off, Monday, and that was the best thing. That was the best decision I made. Got to sleep in today and took a decently slow morning, and then I went for groceries. And then I stopped at Michael's to get some stuffing for crochet, made breakfast when I got home, started watching some trashy housewives, and then I started crocheting a little bit. We just got back from a walk, and it is just delightful, and I'm having a good time. And who knows what is still in store for the day. I think I'm gonna read. I'm currently now reading through Libby, Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. And so we'll see if I get to finish that today or not. But it's been a good week. I think time away from your job is vital to your mental health. So take that time off. I hope you get some time off pretty soon, and plan it. Plan it before you need it. That is for darn sure. And I don't know what I'm going to do outside my comfort zone this week. To be determined. But yeah, I don't know. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thanks for the Access Yappers. Bye.